This time we're going to make an easy white loaf. But first, I want you to actually see the unbelievable difference when you make it at home. It's crusty on the outside, it's got character and flavour, and a very firm texture that you can really bite into. Now let's look at a slice made in a factory so you can see the difference. This is the worst type of all. It's spongy and has absolutely no spring in it. Now look, with our homemade, the texture is firm and leaves no indentation when pressed and springs back beautifully. The method this time is slightly different. I've got in my bowl 550 grams of strong white flour, and I'm adding a level dessert spoon of fine salt, and this time 3/4 of a teaspoon of easy bake yeast. Mix together just as before and make a well in the centre. Then pour in 350 ml of hand hot water and mix to a dough. At the end, go on mixing with your hand, as in lesson 1, until the dough is evenly mixed and there are no bits of flour. Add a spot more water if it feels dry, and don't worry if it feels a bit sticky. This time we're going to put the dough in its bowl into a bag. It's going to take up to 2 hours to rise at room temperature until it has doubled in size. After the dough has risen, tip it out onto a lightly floured flat surface. And because this is refined white flour, it's going to need a second rise. You can see here all the air that's been captured in the dough as the yeast does its work. So what we're going to do now is punch out all that air. Now you can really see what yeast does to dough. It seems full of life. It almost has a mind of its own. It's mysterious and magical. Shape the dough into an oblong and roll it over, then place it into a buttered tin. Sprinkle the top with flour, then put the tin inside the bag, this time for about 1 hour at room temperature. This second rise has always been called proving, which is simply proving the yeast has done its work and is still active. You might want to read our Cookery School study notes on yeast here online. And here it is, proved and ready for baking, this time well above the top of the tin. Now I'm going to slash the top, which makes it look more crusty. We find a sharp serrated knife is the most effective for this. Then it's going onto the centre shelf of a very hot preheated oven, 230 degrees, gas mark 8, for 25 minutes. Then reduce the oven temperature down to 200 degrees centigrade, gas mark 6, for a further 15 minutes. This one is still very crusty, but lighter than the wholemeal. Still bags of flavour and a smoother texture. Buttered and served just as it is, it's fantastic. Or add some homemade marmalade, and soon you'll only want to have homemade bread in your life. Now, if you want to make an English take on French bread, this is going to be the same white bread dough as we've just made. This has risen, had the air knocked out, and all I'm going to do is first of all divide it into 2. Then roll 1/2 into a sausage shape, like this. Then flatten it out all along the length. Now fold the outer edges inwards, starting with one side and then the other folded over that. Turn the whole thing the other way up so the seam is underneath and place it on a greased baking sheet. Then shape the other one. Now pop it into a couple of oiled, overlapping polythene bags and leave it for its second rise for about 1¼ hours. After that, slash each one across diagonally, again with a sharp serrated knife. Finally, dust the loaves generously with flour. Put them into the top part of the oven, which has been preheated to 200 degrees centigrade, gas mark 6, with a roasting tin on the bottom shelf. And immediately pour boiling water from the kettle to about 2 centimetres deep in the roasting tin and close the oven door. With this bread, the steam helps to make them crustier. Give them 25 minutes and then turn them over and give them another 5 minutes on the other side. And here they are in all their home-baked glory. And don't forget, all our bread freezes beautifully. These are rather fun. They're poppy seed rolls. Here, the same dough has been divided into 12 pieces after its first rising. Shape each piece into a long roll and then tie the dough into a knot, like this. Then, after their second rising, in overlapping oiled polythene bags, they're brushed with beaten egg and sprinkled generously with poppy seeds before baking. The oven should be preheated to 190 degrees, gas mark 5, and they'll take 20 to 25 minutes. Now you've mastered how easy bread making is, you can make any of our 50 bread recipes here online. Like this one. This is a Provençal onion tart with anchovies and olives. Perfect with a salad and a glass of chilled Provençal rosé.